We're back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. Did you know that crows love to roll down roofs? They love their common ravens here in America are known for playful behavior, and a certain type love to roll down roofs to make themselves dizzy. Making ourselves dizzy, it's obviously not just reserved for that playful type of crow. It's something that's natural to children. Something that's natural to the adult that is maybe blasted with 5 drinks, finding themselves getting dizzy in their own way. I was in a cold plunge recently, and the whole world, after about 3 or 4 minutes, if you come out of a sauna and you get in a cold plunge, it's a really fun part where the whole world starts to spin. And you got to do it responsibly, but it starts to spin, and you know, because you're past the point of just feeling cold. So you're kind of in that place of you're numb, and you know that you're about to have a bit of euphoria from this spinning, from the cold plunge, the lack of inflammation, and all of the effects that come from doing it right. Cold plunge again, you're about 3 minutes in. And about 2 weeks ago, the world was just spinning and spinning and spinning. It's a feeling I've had before, so I was pretty familiar with it. I was like, oh yeah, this is when it's crazy. It's like volume starts to rise. You start to hear the bubbles of the cold plunge tweets of birds more loudly. You can close your eyes and these bright lights. It's like fireworks going off. And again, you got to do it responsibly. But what was so interesting about this about 2 weeks ago was all of the spinning. It was like there was a body and all of the senses spinning crazily fast, but a center that was changeless. A center point that was observing it all, like the center of a spinning wheel. Totally stable. Watching everything get even more chaotic with more visual and sensational centrifugal force. But changeless, stable in the center. Observing it all. When we get dizzy, if you get up right now and you spin around for 30 seconds, you stop and the room keeps spinning. You even close your eyes, and there's a part of you that is observing it. Why do we seek these perspectives? As a child with dizziness, crows, and rolling off roofs, psychedelics, shamans, and chanting, drum circles that produce a very similar type of rhythmic dizziness and vibration and frequency we get lost in. You know, we as humans, we've been drumming. Drum circles predate language. Chanting, kind of, if you think of Native Americans, chanting and bouncing up and down, the state that we get in, why we love to go dance or live music. When you tap into that, it's like cold plunging. It sounds awful to someone that's never done it. It's like dancing, I don't know, I'm not a good dancer. And then you get into the euphoria that you feel from that rhythm of moving your body. You get into that perspective, go and get dizzy just to perceive that central stability in the midst of a spinning room. What's so beautiful about that experience is that it gives you distance, a bit of elbow room to the room spinning that you know you're stationary within, to yourself spinning, to your senses spinning. And it gives you a chance, a window to give yourself a little elbow room to the idea that you and who you are separate from those spinning sensations. The wild thing about the cold plunge is it's overwhelming sensation. So it wasn't just the world spinning, but it's every little prick of the 44-degree water around the entire body just spinning. But something stable and planted right in the center. Changeless in all of that change. And this philosophy describes this so perfectly. That's just a relative example. This philosophy says, from the relative to the absolute, you are not your sensations. You are not your perspectives. You are not this body that you might think you are. If you can observe it, this philosophy says, and logic would follow suit. If you can observe it, then you yourself are not that. If you can observe something, then by definition, what is observing it is not that. That is subject, object, logical argumentation for if you can observe a movie, the cold weather, a pain in your hand, you are not that. And if you go all the way back, and if you go all the way in, you can observe your mind, your thoughts. Therefore, you're not your mind. How can you be your thoughts if you can observe them, if there is a you that is apart from them to observe them? In the dizziness and chaos of the lives that we often lead, there is always a stability to find within ourselves, a still point in the midst of the dizzying world around us, a still point in the midst of the dynamics of life, the dynamics of our thoughts. There is a still point. And instead of cultivating an identity of our preferences, our likes, our dislikes, what we want, what we're chasing after, what we see out there, instead of cultivating an identification with those, this philosophy advises us to entertain, to cultivate an identification to that still point behind all of our perceptions, behind all of our thoughts, behind all of our goals and desires, behind all of our likes, our dislikes, our preferences, the changeless still point in the midst of all of that movement, all of that undulation, and all of that change. Find it, cultivate it. When life gives you a peek, a window into that changelessness in the midst of a world that is moving so rapidly around us, a peek into what is deep down, the still point that observes it all, separate from all that we are observing. Don't take it for granted. Because this philosophy says that's who and that's what we really are. Sat Chit Ananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss. At our core. And all three of those. Existence, awareness, bliss. Sometimes it's translated. But that seat of awareness, this philosophy says, that's the real you. The rest is just an illusion. That is today's reflection. We'll see you next time.